Before we highlight the best and most challenging car shipping locations in the state, generally speaking, the best car shipping locations are going to be the biggest cities, followed by those locations on or near interstates. You'll have the quickest and least expensive auto transports from these locations. The most challenging car shipping locations are going to be in remote towns and cities. These are towns and cities that are more than 50 miles away from major cities or interstates. It takes more time and costs more money to ship a car to or from these remote locations. With these general guidelines in mind, let's look at the best and most challenging car shipping locations in the state. All right, as we take a look at the state of Alabama, your best car shipping locations are going to start with the city and the metropolitan area of Birmingham. This particular location makes for an absolute ideal location to ship cars to or from. It is almost perfectly centered in the state and has all kinds of interstates running to it and through it. Interstates such as I-22, I-20 that runs through it and through the entire state. Then you've got I-65 that runs through it and down through it all the way down to Mobile. And then you have 59 that comes down into Birmingham as well. So as you can see here, it's a great location for car carriers to get to and from. It's also a great corridor for carriers that may be servicing Atlanta, because getting from Birmingham to Atlanta or from Atlanta to Birmingham is incredibly easy to do as they travel along I-20. Then as we head a little bit further south into the state, you have the city of Montgomery in the Montgomery metropolitan area. Another great location. It too is almost centrally located and has a couple key interstates that run through it. Again, I-65 that runs through it, and then I-85 goes into Montgomery from Atlanta. And that's another hub that is an easy hub to connect to Atlanta. So car carriers a lot of times will go from Atlanta to Montgomery and vice versa, or they'll be at least traveling through that lane as they are shipping their vehicles. And then going back up north, because I'm doing these in order from best to least, best car shipping locations, is going to be Huntsville up north. Now, this particular city and this general area is only ideal, or I should say mostly ideal, if you are shipping north or south, or shipping from the south or north to Huntsville, because carriers will be traveling along I-65. So to skirt over there to Huntsville, and for all intents and purposes, the outer or the outskirts of Huntsville, it's right off of 65. When you're going west to east or east to west, depending on what's on the other side of that transport, sometimes Huntsville can actually be challenging, because as you can see, there's really no direct interstate that goes west-east or east to west. But again, Huntsville, decent location, a solid location if you do a north-south, south-north transport. And then as we head down in far southwest Alabama, you have Mobile, Alabama. What makes this area particularly attractive is if you are doing a west to east or east to west transport that's on or near this I-10 corridor. As you can see, Mobile, Alabama is right along that interstate. That is a very heavily traveled interstate because it connects Florida to California. So it is probably the most traveled, well, it is the most traveled coast-to-coast interstate in the extreme south part of the United States. So anything along I-10, Mobile included, makes for a great location. And as far as north transports or transports coming from the north, Mobile sometimes can be great if your transport is along I-65. But if it's like going this direction, then sometimes Mobile can be a more challenging location. Speaking of challenging locations, let's turn now to the more challenging car shipping locations in the state. Really, it's going to be anything that's more than 50 miles off of any of the interstates that you see in the state. So you can just kind of circle some pockets here, like this area here, this pocket in here, this big pocket in here, particularly as you see here, lots of green, sparsely populated towns, no interstates. And of course, you're quite a ways off. If you're in the heart of this location, you're a ways off from these interstates here. Then this particular pocket here in southeast Alabama can be challenging. And then right in here, that's another challenging pocket. So these areas here you want to avoid if you can. And by challenging, we mean transports to and from these locations typically cost more money to complete and take longer to complete because car carriers just aren't traveling to those locations on a regular basis. To find out what it costs to ship a car to or from Alabama, get an instant quote on our website at www.jnstransport.com.